dictation, I can sing some of the songs I've written, and because I was influenced so much by the traditional sound from the 50s.
But it's good that you know, your thing isn't really that highly attuned to the mainstream and that you've got your niche carved out for you, because this next segment that we're going to get into here on the show would completely destroy any chance you would ever have at a mainstream music career. And I just want to check with you, are you game for heading into this dangerous territory I'm about to take us to?
Well, I guess I'm ready.
I mean, you're a shootist, right?
Yeah.
You're well protected. You can keep us safe while we travel into this back country here, otherwise known as the Undercountry Music News. Okay, Ben, are you familiar with the Undercountry Music News?
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with it. Yeah.
Oh, so you've heard the show before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then you won't be shocked. And for those of you just joining us here, for those of you on our talk show formats, because we put it into a few places like on Spreaker and also up on YouTube where we can't play the music from Undercountry Music. So we sort of chop out the news portion and we put it up on Spreaker and also on YouTube in hopes that it'll attract people and lead them back to the larger show. Because otherwise we get like copyright notices and things like that, whether we have permission to play the music or not. But anyway, those of you just joining us in Talk Show Land, I'm hanging out here with Ben Stillwater, a country and western artist from Wisconsin, who also has his own TV show called Giddy Up. Yeah, so say hello to everybody out there in Talk Show Land.
Hello, everybody. This is Ben Stillwater, and what was this about being a shootist now? We got to protect something?
Yeah, well, luckily, Ben packs heat, which is a really good thing because we're about to head into the dangerous territory, otherwise known as the Undercountry Music News. And then every single week, right here on this show, I go onto Google, I type in the search term Country Music News, and whatever comes up on the front page of Google, whatever websites there are, I get on my pony and I just gallop right into those websites and I look to see if they actually have any country music news. Now, Ben, do you know what I often find, Ben, when I gallop into the back country of the news portions of these websites?
Well, it's kind of hard to say, I guess, nowadays, but you could run across probably just about anything.
Yeah, I usually run across almost everything except country music news.
Oh, no, that couldn't be good.
So the purpose of this, because it's so tough to actually get anything besides BS press releases from artists and their management companies and actually get some actual country music news, since it's so scarce that these people will actually report things that are really going on, because they just get the press releases and they stick them in their newsroll and call it news and basically don't do their job. So what I do is I scour all these websites and I find the one or two stories that actually are news and I compile them all into this segment right here. And I report on those who report the country music news.
What do we got for the news today?
Well, we still got the danger part to get to, though. The danger. Yeah. Where you got to be looking over your shoulder. You got to have that shotgun cocked. Because when I get onto a website that's not doing their job and is not reporting any country music news, and they've got all People magazine type fluff, like Taylor Swift's new line of elastic waistbands, or, is it okay? Does Brantley Gilbert really shave his toes? Like stuff like that. I pick one horrible, pathetic website every single week that's not doing their job to be the unlucky recipient of the Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week. And that can make some enemies.
I suppose it could. Yeah, that sounds like it's getting pretty pretty undercover there, all right.
You ever make chili over that fake campfire on that stage of yours?
No, mostly coffee.
Mostly coffee. Okay, well, that's a good lubricant there. For those of you in talk show land, Ben makes fake fire on stage during his shows.
Cowboy campfire.
Cowboy campfire, and he makes cowboy coffee over the fake campfire, and they play a lot of Western music, and it's some cool stuff. And we're going to get you hooked up with Ben here at the end of this news segment. But anyway, you ready to get into it here, Ben?
We're ready.
Okay, over at CMT.com. Some sad news. Trace Adkins' wife has filed for divorce, and that's a drag. They didn't really dig into it a whole lot other than just to say the mere facts that she has filed for divorce. And that one did sort of end up on almost everybody's news roll this week. And as you know, as most people know, Trace has gone back into rehab recently for alcoholism after blowing up on a cruise ship. You heard about some of that stuff?
Yeah, I've heard about some of that. He come off as during some of the Apprentice filming, I think, doing some of that in and out.
Yeah, that's a drag. I mean, apparently there was a Trace Adkins impersonator on this cruise ship singing karaoke, and he'd been drinkering, and he kind of lost his cool with the Adkins impersonator. And Trace is a big dude, big old dude. I mean, that guy used to work on oil rigs. Can you imagine? You're up there, singing "Swing Bada Bada Swing" or "We Ain't Just Fishing," and then all of a sudden, up walks this freaking mountain of a man, drunk off his a-hole.
Boy, I don't like the way you're singing my song.
I mean, you'd probably get a little nervous there.
Yeah, believe it or not, he's only an inch shorter than I am.
Wait a minute. You're taller than Trace Adkins.
About an inch and a half, actually.
How tall are you, Bill? I'm Ben. What am I saying, Bill? I've been calling you. I don't know why. I've been calling you Bill since we started talking today. I called you Bill on the phone earlier today. I don't know what the heck's going on with me.
It must be you're thinking of Bill Cody or something, one of those Wild West guys.
I must be. So anyway, how tall are you, Ben?
Well, I'm actually 6'7.5", if you want to really cut it down there.
Wow. And I'm assuming you wear boots sometimes.
Oh, I wear boots almost all the time unless I'm bedded down somewhere. But yeah, boots and a hat, and I suppose I'm well over 7 foot with boots and a hat on.
Holy cannoli! And do you wear one of them big old Haas hats? Like Bonanza Haas?
Well, pretty close. I like a real nice cowboy hat. In case it rains, you got some little protection. The rain don't run down the back of your neck,
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk about my Bonanza addiction more towards the end of this show, and I'm going to see if you can't guide me through some therapy on that. But anyway, Trace Adkins' wife has filed for divorce, and that sucks. And our prayers are with the Adkins at this time. That's a rough one. All right, on to countryweekly.com. You know what they got at countryweekly.com this week?
Probably the latest thing in country music.
They got absolutely nothing except the undercountry music wet belch of the week.
Oh, no.
You never know when that's going to creep up on you, Ben made me some cowboy chili over that fake campfire, and I packed it in, and so I've got some interesting stuff happening in my gullet right now. So
that's Country Weekly.
That is Country Weekly. Of course, this is from my research that I did last night on them. Of course, if you go there as you're listening to this, odds are you're going to find some great story, and you're going to go, well, why did he give him the belch? There's this awesome story here. He could have brought that. And it's because when you're listening to the show is not necessarily when I recorded the show. So, there's like a couple days difference between when the actually this week there's a 1 day difference between when I'm recording it and when the show comes out. So the show comes out every Saturday at midnight, and right now we're recording on a Friday afternoon. So a little peek behind the curtain there. All right, well, now that you've experienced the wet belch, you've lived through the horror, and you survived, it's most appropriate that at this time we proceed to tasteofcountry.com. Hello?
Yep, still there.
You're here, yes. I've kind of left you speechless, I guess.
Yeah, well, I was just kind of waiting to see if you had another line to come after that. It seemed like he's going to follow it up. But, so this is the taste of country. Now, what's the difference of the taste of country compared to the latest country news?
Well, tasteofcountry.com in their news section. This week, you can watch Brantley Gilbert jump into the extremely cold waters of the Cumberland River on a dare. And he does it too. He even does a backflip into the Cumberland River, shouts some expletives as he jumps out because it's just freezing cold. And well, I mean, you're hanging out from Wisconsin. I'm sure it's like a summer swim to you. But down here, our blood thins out because it's still kind of icy. We had a particularly cold winter for us here in Tennessee this year, and
yeah.
Hey, at least he actually did something besides put out lame press releases like most everybody else in country this week. So I do got to give him props for that. He went above and beyond the call of duty to entertain the folks and did a backflip into the Cumberland River just for nothing more than to entertain us.
Well, sounds like he's right on the ball anyway with that. If he'd done that up north, he'd probably have to chop a big hole in that ice. It's about 3 feet thick this year.
Yeah, it was a pretty tough winter this year, and, well, thank God for global warming. Otherwise, it would have been like 20 feet thick.
Yeah, I reckon that's right. Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah. So everybody, fire up those aerosol cans. Get outside, and let's get summer here.
Speed it up, huh?
That's what I'm saying.
So, what? This is the taste of country. So, what else is the taste of country music at this time?
What else do they have? No, that's pretty much it. Everything else over there sucks this week.
They need to get some shows booked around that area there with them Stillwater, and we'll get a whole lot of news going on there for them.
I'm saying, yeah, we need to fire up them guns of yours, and get you on there with that beautiful duettist that you like to hang out with. What's her name? What's her name over there?
It's Cyndee Jean.
Cyndee Jean. What's she doing these days?
Well, we're down here in Kentucky, and we're going to, like I said, and we're working on we're doing TV show filming. Different segments and stuff, but we're always doing that. So she's over there getting ready for the TV program.
I was wondering if she was going to make it on the show with us today here, and so she's over doing all the dirty work while you're hanging out here, spending worthless, mindless time with the country music news with me.
Yeah, well, we could probably arrange it to get her on the show here. We got a few more minutes. Maybe we get to another section we can get her on the phone.
Maybe in the next segment we'll get her on here for the 1-2 song punch. So, but that comes after the news, though. But anyway, we're gonna travel on to the boot now. Theboot.com. Now, theboot.com gets special props from me this week for featuring two relatively unknown country artists in their news role, like Robert Miranda releasing his debut album, and also Joshua Scott's new album getting highlighted over there. Are you familiar with either of those artists?
I guess I'm not. I might have heard of them, but I'm not familiar with them.
I'm not familiar with them at all, and the fact that they are such a prominent website for country music bringing up some up and comers like that. I just thought that was kind of cool because I have no idea who either of these two are, but I'm just glad to see someone putting someone in their news role besides the same old faces. So I wanted to give them some good props on that. See, I'm not all about belching and saying that people suck. I give credit when it's due.
Yeah, well, that's what radio guys do, right?
I try, I tried to find, last week my whole show, I counted down the top 20 in country, trying to find something good to say about someone, and it was really tough. I did find a couple good things to say about some people in the top 20. There were a couple that struck me, but just about everything in the top 20 of country was either an "Ooh, I Love You" baby song, or "Let's drop a tailgate and drink beer," or "I'm so heartbroken you left me." Those are the only three things being written about in country music anymore these days. And that's kind of another big reason why I was so attracted to your song, Ben, your song "Log Truck." And that's another big reason why that grabbed me, because it wasn't an "Ooh, I Love You" baby song, or an "I'm so heartbroken you left," or "Drop a tailgate and shake your moneymaker while I crack open a beer." So,
well, there's all kinds of songwriters, and I guess most of the country music business today, I guess there's not a lot of people that are writing what you would call traditional, even though I get asked all the time if I'm a traditional artist, and I like to say that I'm a very new country artist, because everything that I've written is new. It's less than 5 years old, everything, and so it is new, but it is influenced by traditional music. But a lot of the modern country definitely has leaned towards the pop theme, and that, like you say, there's not a lot of things that's going to be going on because everybody sounds the same. So there's really no personalities left anymore. It's just more of a commercial business, and that's a good thing for that side of it. But I do feel that they should express more of their originality independently to personalities that want to be different, and like Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson that were doing the new things, but they still made a statement, and their own statement. Probably the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, Waylon Jennings hasn't put out a new album in how many years now, though?
Well, it's been a long time, but he probably won't lend us too many more albums anymore. But there's no doubt there's a big generation gap.
Well, I know he's dead, but every country artist, they always put out like 3 or 4 more albums after they die, though.
Yeah, they usually take a lot of uncut stuff, or previously unreleased. Yeah, and but it's the market has definitely gone to the teenagers for the most part, and it used to be you couldn't really get a major recording contract in the 50s and 60s unless you were at least 30 years old, and now if you're 30 years old, you're too old to get signed.
Yeah, well, the times changing now. I don't hold it against anyone that they've all got families to feed. They've got an industry to support. There's crews that go on the road, and it's putting food on a whole lot of people's tables, and that is the one thing that I can say about it. But when it becomes just about money and zero about music, I think we got a problem.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's a box, really, with a lot of the major music markets. It's a box, and if you don't do what's recommended in that box, it's hard to be successful at any amount of level. But it's one of them things that basically, if you're a trend changer, or sticking to something that's different, it takes longer to catch on. Like, even George Jones, one of the greatest country singers of all time, nicknamed him The Voice.
And then they made a TV show about him.
Yeah, well, they picked a good name for that, for sure. Yeah, and that's the thing about it. It's a personality. Like George Jones. George Jones definitely had a lot of personality, and that's just what what you've got to be. So sometimes it isn't easy to, you might say, go against the grain in the music business, but that is what keeps originality genuine, is the fact that you know what you want to hear and you stick to it.
Well, the good thing about the internet and what we have today is that people can actually find what they want to hear if they so choose. They can either sit there and just flip to the radio station, or they can exercise some of their other options and actually find stuff. And, that's a personal choice we all make. Now, anyway, let's move along here. NashvilleGab.com. The Swon brothers respond to allegations that the TV show The Voice, as we were just talking about, is rigged.
Rigged, huh? Who would have thought that?
Well, they didn't say it was rigged. They just responded to allegations that the TV show is rigged. And they piped in on it. And if you want to hear their 2 cents on that, because the Swon brothers were finalists on The Voice, which is how they got known, you can get on over there to Nashville Gab and you can hear what they have to say about that. Now, I think what it is in the contracts, the producers of the show can sort of put their hands in it and alter outcomes. So it's not all just the celebrity judges and the voting public, things like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's hard to make a call on that for sure. I think Blake Shelton was involved in some of the planning or things like that. I don't know a lot about it, but it is kind of interesting. I think that those shows are a really good thing, because it used to be the thing that strikes me funny about these, I guess you call them maybe reality type shows or those types of singing shows, is they used to have in Nashville, you could go down and you could try out demo sing or do your thing in front of these labels, and they'd sit and listen to these people by the hundreds audition. It used to be that way. The industry was all about it. That's what the Grand Ole Opry started for, was to rise up local and young entertainers to the business. It was an open door for them to come in and check out to meet the requirements of a family-run show on the Grand Ole Opry. So they were auditioning people steady, but that went away when major record companies took over and got their stronghold, really. And so that's one of the things I do like about those shows, is the fact that it does give people an auditioning regardless of your age, because they turn their chairs around and the way you look, they're going by the voice. And so I think that part of it is unique and interesting. But I suppose it's like a lot of things, it gets, what you might say, a little political with how it's really influential to who really gets picked, I guess. Maybe there's a little this or that in the judging and stuff like that. Maybe they
But if the public likes you and other companies like you and they think they can do something with you, even if you don't win, it's still great exposure and can bump you up. Because the Swon brothers, I don't really watch The Voice, so my understanding is that they did not win, but yet here they are with a hit song because they were on that show. Anyway, we're going to move over to countrystandardtime.com right now, and they are talking about the new Johnny Cash album, Out Among the Stars, that's finally been released.
About time, huh?
Yeah, all these guys, as soon as they get to heaven, the first thing they do is they hit the recording studio.
Just roll it, huh? Take one.
I know. Well, wouldn't you? Imagine the pool of musicians you have to choose from there. So, anyway, these recordings on Out Among the Stars, which is the new Johnny Cash album, they were actually discovered by Johnny's son just a couple of years ago as he made his way through his father's archives after Johnny Cash's death, and it was a collection of songs that was recorded in 1981. When Johnny was actually having sort of a low point of his career, and after hearing it, the label just decided to take a pass and shelve the project, so it was never released, and just the recordings which also include a duet with June Carter Cash. I think there's 2 duets with June Carter Cash and 1 duet with Waylon Jennings is on the album. And they've just been sitting over at the Cash estate all these years.
They put her together and put it out, huh?
Yeah, and well, his son, who's also a producer, also helped, go over the recordings and, bring him up to today's standards and get him out there. And I had a listen. I went on YouTube and I had a listen to a couple of tracks from it. And one of them was about a guy who kind of busts into a store and waves a gun around, but allows the store owner to go, and then he just kind of stands there and waits for the cops to show up. I didn't listen to the whole song, though, because it was, while the subject matter was great, I mean, it was a really unique storyline, and I'll probably go back and listen to it and finish that one up. But the music itself was, pretty typical and, redundant, and there was just no edge to it. That old Johnny Cash edge to it, I didn't find it there. Although I loved the subject matter of the song, it was pretty unique. And then there was another tune in there that I had to listen to. It wasn't terrible. I mean, I didn't even dislike it, but I also didn't love it. It was just kind of more polished up than I like my Johnny Cash to be.
In my opinion, Johnny Cash, you talk about the edge, Johnny Cash was one of the best rockabilly artists that I've ever heard.
Oh, absolutely. It just, when you hear those old recordings of Johnny Cash, and they've just got this raw edge about them that just, that just claw their ways right out of the speakers, and then, later there was this lull kind of in the 80s where it was just what he was doing just wasn't quite that edgy anymore, as it.
No. Well, one of the reasons that you probably lost a little bit of their edge there is because the recording technology had changed so much to a digital age that just the recordings themselves were so clean. Back then, on the Sun Records cuts, I mean, it was considered dirty or filthy recordings because it was taped and there was just a couple mics in one room getting this guitar and bass and vocal kind of all in one pass type of deal, and they didn't have multi-track, and it was just a gritty rock and roll sound. And as it got cleaned up in multi-track and digital recording, the tracks got so clean that it did take away from just that process alone. Is bound to take away originality to, especially an artist that has a lot of grit like Johnny Cash.
Exactly, and that was, I remember Neil Young was really railing against the digital age when all that was happening as well. And there were a lot of great things the digital age brought us, and some other things that make it kind of tough for the rawer and more gritty artists. But anyway, I've only heard 2 songs off that album, so I'm far from making a judgment call on it just yet. But hey, let's move on here. Let's go over to the 615.com. Now, these guys have a story. They have a real country music news story that nobody else had this week. And it's just beyond me how nobody else jumped on this story. And you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Mickey Gilley just performed his very first show on the road in 5 years after recuperating from a 2009 fall that left him paralyzed from the neck down for 3 months and has had him in physical therapy for the past 5 years. And he has struggled and fought himself back and has just played his very first show back on the road. He still can't play piano, but he's out there performing once again. And the 615 are the only ones who were cool enough to report on that one.
Yeah, Mickey Gilley. Yeah, he's like the top honky tonk singer of country music for sure.
Yeah, I mean he fell 5 years ago helping a friend move a couch. He stepped in a flower bed. He was the guy walking backwards with the couch. Stepped in a flower bed, and the next thing he knows, he wakes up 2 days later in a hospital and he's paralyzed from the neck down.
Bad deal.
Yeah, well, he's struggled and fought his way back, and he's only recently been able to walk again, actually. So anyway, the Undercountry Music News Coup of the Week goes to the 615. And
yeah, I would say.
And we got one more place to check in with here before we wrap up the Undercountry Music News, and that is Country Music is Love. And I think I'd like to hear your thoughts about this one we're gonna get into here. George Strait has just played his final show of his farewell tour, The Cowboy Rides Away, at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. And it's really just the last show before he takes a really long vacation,
Yeah.
It's laughable. This whole farewell tour thing, it's total BS. And the average person who doesn't understand how the machine works, the publicity machine works, they run out there, they blow a big wad of money on overpriced tickets because they think it's the last chance they'll ever have to see George Strait perform.
Yeah.
He's already admitted that he's not retiring from performing. He's just not going to go do the massive, endless tours, sleeping in hotels for months and months and months at a stretch any longer. That's the only thing he's doing,
I would suppose, yeah. And a guy with as big a name as the impact that he's had, he should be able to start picking and choosing his retirement soon, I would suppose.
Yeah, I mean, unless you were going to plan on running around from town to town following him on tour, trust me, you as a fan, you're not going to know the difference. I mean, all it means is that he's not, it's just like he'll go do a few nights over in this town and then go home, and then he'll go do a few nights over in this town and go home, go do a few nights over there, and he's just going to do them in little shorter spurts. I mean, that's the only thing. He's going to advance the gear, which means he hires local sound companies in the places he wants to go play to provide the sound and lights. And he just flies out there with his band and performs, a little handful of shows, flies back home, takes a little rest, and then picks another place he wants to go and does it all over again. That's it. Give George a few more years, and mark my words, it's going to be the George Strait Comeback Tour. The Cowboy Rides Again. The tickets are going to be triple price of the farewell tour.
Oh, no. Maybe they need me to write a song. This is where the cowboy rides into camp or out into Dodge instead of out of Dodge.
Well, just, I'd put a patent on that fake fire of yours, Ben, because I think you're going to have that one stolen. That idea is going to get stolen.
Yeah, you might be right on that.
I mean, making coffee on stage, that's genius.
Well, it definitely adds to the cowboy campfire for sure.
And this has been your Undercountry Music News. All right.
And that's a wrap on that.
That is, and let's say goodbye to all the people in talk show land here, because we're going to get back into some more music here, which we cannot play on the talk show format, so we're going to let them go. But before we do, Ben Stillwater, why don't you tell the folks out there in talk show land where they can hear your music and find out more about you, and more importantly, also go check out your TV show that you've got.
Yeah, we're just starting out with the TV show. We've got a promo, and the best place to go is benstillwater.com. You can go to YouTube, Ben Stillwater on YouTube, and there's 5 or 6 music videos and a TV show promo on YouTube. And, of course, you can go to CD Baby. They've got the albums and stuff on there. But there's a lot of write-up and reading about the latest things we got going on benstillwater.com. Of course, you can email if you need at benstillwater@yahoo.com. That'll get you in touch inside the loop. And we've got
You are a brave man to be broadcasting out your email address like that, because we get some kookies listening to this show sometimes.
Do
sometimes, not all the time, but
well, on the website there's a a newsletter you can sign up to too, and that if you click on sign up, it's kind of like a fan club or a weekly newsletter that goes out and kind of keeps you in on what the latest shows and stuff are too.
And you've also got a really cool collection of Western shirts over there as well that people can get into.
Yeah, of course, that's a big part of what we do too. All my hats are custom built out in Montana by a hat maker out there, and everything we wear is definitely very Western.
Well, very cool. So for those of you in talk show land, we're going to let you guys go so that we can get into some music. And if you'd like to hear the whole entire episode of Undercountry Music, episode 111, and not just the Undercountry Music news, get on over to undercountrymusic.com or just go on to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast, and it'll come to you automatically every week. All right, bye-bye talk show land. All right, Ben. Now we're going to get into some music here because it's time for the Undercountry Music 1-2 Song Punch. Now the Undercountry Music 1-2 Song Punch, because you